The ballroom shimmered with golden light, filled with the soft hum of nostalgia, laughter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Old friends reunited, sharing exaggerated tales of success and memories of youth. I stood among them, my presence unnoticed, just as it had always been. But tonight I was not the quiet, overlooked man I once was. At my side was Isabel, my wife, my betrayer. She had spent weeks obsessing over this night, fussing over her appearance, whispering into her phone, her excitement barely concealed. I had wanted to believe she was simply eager to see old friends, but deep down I knew something was off. Then one night I saw the name flashing on her screen. Lucas. It took a moment for recognition to strike. Lucas Morrow, her high school sweetheart, the one who had slipped through her fingers all those years ago. The moment we stepped into the ballroom, my worst suspicions were confirmed. Isabel barely acknowledged my presence, flitting from one conversation to another, her laughter light and effortless, until he arrived. Lucas strode through the grand entrance, arrogance radiating from him like heat, and the moment their eyes met, Isabel transformed. Her face lit up with an unmistakable glow, the kind of radiance I had not seen directed at me in years. Without hesitation, she melted into his arms, her hands resting on his shoulders, his fingers shamelessly exploring the curve of her waist as they swayed to the music. And then, as if to drive the dagger deeper, she turned to me and laughed. Not a soft chuckle, not the laugh I once adored, but a cruel, cutting sound that echoed through the room. It was in that moment that something inside me snapped. I strode toward them, my voice low and steady, but laced with a quiet menace. "Take your hands off my wife or I'll break them." Lucas smirked, his confidence unshaken. "Try it, nerd, and I'll leave you in a bloody heap." And Isabel, my wife, laughed again. Whispers spread among the crowd, eyes flicking toward us, waiting for the inevitable explosion. I could feel their pity, their amusement, their silent judgments pressing in from all sides. I had spent years working tirelessly, sacrificing, building a life for Isabel, only to be humiliated in front of the very people who once overlooked me. She had no respect for me. She thought I was weak. But what she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that I had been preparing for this moment long before the reunion. Instead of lashing out, I did something unexpected. I smiled. The change in my demeanor sent a ripple of unease through Isabel. Her smirk faltered, confusion flickering in her eyes. Lucas hesitated, sensing the shift. Good. They weren't expecting this. I turned away from them and calmly approached the bar. As I sipped my drink, I pulled out my phone and sent a single message. One to my lawyer. One to my banker. And one to the private investigator I had hired weeks ago. Because while Isabel had been busy rekindling an old flame, I had been busy uncovering the truth. I knew everything. I knew about the secret apartment she had been renting under a fake name. I knew about the hidden bank account where she had been stashing money for months. And I knew that Lucas wasn't just a long-lost love. He was a con artist, a man who had spent years manipulating wealthy women, draining their finances with empty promises and grand illusions. And Isabel had fallen for it completely. The trap had been set. And now it was time to spring it. A chime cut through the ballroom's music. Then another. And another. Murmurs spread like wildfire as people checked their phones, their eyes darting toward Isabel and Lucas. Confused, Isabel pulled out her own phone. The moment her eyes met the screen, the color drained from her face. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through the messages, her breath turning ragged. Lucas leaned in, frowning. "What's wrong?" And then the whispers turned to laughter. I swirled my drink, watching as realization dawned on her. She turned to me, her voice shaking. "What did you do?" I raised my glass in a slow, deliberate toast. "Oh, I just thought your classmates should know the truth." Lucas yanked his phone from his pocket, and the second he saw the screen, his cocky facade shattered. Every single person in that room had received an email from Isabel's account. Attached were bank statements, hidden messages, and undeniable proof of her affair. Proof that she had been siphoning money from our joint accounts. Proof that Lucas had a long history of manipulating women for their wealth. Gasps rippled through the room. "My God, she was paying for everything," someone whispered. "She was planning to leave Nathan and take all his money with her," another voice added. Lucas turned on Isabel, his mask of confidence slipping into something venomous. "You idiot. How could you let this happen?" She recoiled, horrified. "Me? You said no one would ever find out." I chuckled, my voice calm. "Oh, he told you that and you actually believed him?" Lucas spun toward me, his hands curling into fists. "You think this is funny?" I straightened, stepping closer. The room had fallen into complete silence. "No, Lucas, I murmured, my voice deadly soft. What's funny is that you thought you could get away with it. He lunged forward, rage twisting his features, but I held up a hand. Before you do something reckless, you should know. I tapped my phone. Your bank accounts? Frozen. Your credit cards? Cancelled. The penthouse you've been staying in? Evicted as of 30 minutes ago. The color drained from his face. I smirked. You're broke, Lucas. Just like every other woman you've scammed before. Except this time, there's no one left to save you. Isabel's eyes darted wildly around the room, searching for an ally. But there was no one. The friends she once surrounded herself with now looked at her with disgust. Even her boss, a well-respected figure in finance, shook his head in disappointment. This is disgraceful, he muttered. Tears welled in her eyes. Nathan, please? I held up a hand. Oh, don't worry, Isabel. You'll have plenty of time to reflect on your choices. Her brows furrowed in confusion. And then, from the crowd, a police officer stepped forward. Isabel Carter, he said, his voice firm. We have a warrant for your arrest. Charges include financial fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. A strangled gasp escaped her lips. No, there must be a mistake. Lucas's bitter laugh rang through the ballroom. Looks like you got played too, sweetheart. I took one last step toward her, lowering my voice so only she could hear. You tried to destroy me, Isabel, I whispered, letting my smile widen. But I was always 10 steps ahead. The handcuffs snapped around her wrists. She screamed my name. But I remained calm, composed, utterly free. Lucas vanished after that night, his reputation in ruins, reduced to a desperate man begging for money online. Isabel lost everything, her career, her credibility, her future. And me? I moved on. I found someone who truly loved and respected me. And every now and then, when I think back to that night, I remind myself of one simple truth. The best revenge isn't fueled by anger. It's built on success.